It is a Tuesday night in March. You are a 33-year-old sitting in your car in the parking lot of a grocery store you drove to but did not go into because you did the math in your head on the way over and realized you could not afford what was on the list. Not comfortably or without moving something around. So you sit there with the engine off, thinking about how you ended up here. You have a job, the kind your younger self would have considered a success. $64,000 a year, which sounds like enough until you map it against what your life actually costs. You did this once, about 8 months ago, on a Sunday afternoon when the anxiety got too loud to ignore. Opened a spreadsheet, typed in the numbers, stared at what they added up to, and then closed the laptop without saving. Tonight you are going to do it again. But this time you are not going to close it. You drive home, make tea, because you are out of coffee. And coffee costs more than tea. And small things like that have started mattering in ways they did not 5 years ago. Open the laptop and start typing. Income after tax, $3,720 a month. Rent, $1,480. Car payment, $340. Insurance, $185. Student loan minimum, $260. Groceries, estimated honestly, $320. Subscriptions, counted carefully, $87. That leaves $1,048. Your last 3 credit card statements average $1,290 in the column. That is not any of those things. You have been going backward by roughly $242 every single month. Probably longer than you want to admit. That number sits for a while. Not dramatically, not with a spiral or a breakdown. Just quietly. The way you sit with something that has finally stopped being deniable. Here is what nobody says when you start this in your 30s. You are not behind in the way the internet makes you feel behind. You are not doomed. But you are not getting a clean run at this either. The compounding years that every finance book illustrates its examples with, the ones where someone invests $200 at 23 and retires with a number that feels mythological. Those years are not ahead of you anymore. And the math on that is real. Worth understanding clearly. Worth sitting with honestly for exactly one night. One night. Because here is what else is also true. You are not 23. You are not investing with a partial income and a vague understanding of what a mutual fund is. You have professional experience. You have a salary that will likely grow. You are old enough now to read what the numbers actually say and act on them without flinching. At 33, if you invest $550 a month and average an 8% annual return in a diversified index fund, you will have just over $900,000 by 65. That is arithmetic, not a sales pitch, not optimism dressed up as math. Just the quiet machinery running in the background of every financial decision you make from this point forward. But $550 a month requires something most people skip. The brutal, unglamorous work of closing the $242 gap, building a foundation, and making a decision that most people make in theory, but not in practice. That where you are in 5 years matters more than where you eat next Saturday. The first milestone is not $10,000. It is not $5,000. It is $1,000 in a savings account you do not touch. This sounds simple until you try to do it in your 30s, when $1,000 is also an emergency. When $1,000 is a car repair or a flight home for something nobody planned, or a medical bill with a copay that surprises you. Life at 33 has more surface area than it did at 23. More things can go wrong. More people might depend on you. Building that first 1,000 feels like filling a cracked container. It keeps finding ways out before it accumulates. So you get specific. You go through your subscriptions and cancel 3 of them. $87 back. You sell a coat you bought 3 years ago to feel a version of yourself you were not quite ready to be. It goes for $70 on an app. You bring lunch from home for 5 weeks, which saves roughly $160. You take on one extra project at work, the kind you would normally decline because the pay barely seems worth the time and it adds $280 to one paycheck. You do not tell anyone you are doing any of this because there is a specific kind of quiet embarrassment about it when you are in your 30s. The feeling that you should have this handled by now. That financial scrambling is something that was supposed to belong to your early 20s. One morning in May, you check your account. $1,017. You sit with that for a moment. No celebration, no announcement. You are not sure who you would even tell who would understand why this particular number matters. But you feel something small and solid that was not there before. Evidence that the direction of something can change. You close the app, you make breakfast, you go to work. At 34, something shifts in how you relate to money that has nothing to do with your balance. You have set up an automatic transfer, $350 into a Roth IRA on the 3rd of every month, $150 into a high-yield savings account 2 days later. You do not see this money. It leaves your checking account before you have had time to absorb it as available. You live on what remains. It is tighter than it used to feel, but it works. Then your laptop dies. Not gradually, not with warning signs you could plan around. It simply does not turn on one Wednesday morning and a technician at a repair shop tells you the motherboard is gone and the data recovery alone will cost $180. You need a laptop for work. You need it within a week. A replacement that will actually do what you need it to do costs $740. 3 years ago, this would have been a crisis. It would have gone on a credit card with the quiet internal promise to pay it off by the end of the quarter. A promise you would have kept for about 6 weeks before life interrupted it and the balance sat there collecting interest while you tried not to look at it directly. Instead, you transfer $740 from your savings account. You authorize the purchase. You feel a specific kind of steadiness in doing it. Not happiness exactly, not relief exactly, something more structural than both. You rebuild the fund over the following 3 months. You do not miss a single automated transfer. At 35, the market drops 22% over about 5 months. You watch real money become a smaller real number in real time, and your nervous system responds to this the way nervous systems do. With urgency, with the impulse to do something, to stop the bleeding, to get out before it gets worse. You check the account every morning for 2 weeks. Then you make yourself stop. You keep the automated contributions running. You buy more shares at lower prices without fully believing you are making the right choice. You do not sell. 11 months later, the portfolio is back where it started. The drop, in retrospect, is a line on a chart. In the middle of it, it felt like evidence that you had been wrong about everything. What you learn in that period is not a strategy. It is something closer to a personality change. You begin to understand, not intellectually but in your body, that volatility is not the same as loss. That staying is usually the right answer even when everything in you is arguing for movement. That the people who come out of market drops in the best position are not the ones who predicted the bottom. They are the ones who had automated behavior that kept running when their judgment got too loud to trust. Something else happens at 35 that nobody discusses when they describe what financial progress actually feels like. You are at a department store on a Saturday afternoon. You need a new pair of work shoes. The ones you have been wearing have a small separation starting at the toe of the right one that you have been managing with shoe glue for 2 months. You are holding 2 boxes. One costs $65. The other costs $175 and has a brand name that means something in the context of durability and a return policy that covers manufacturing defects for 2 years. 5 years ago, you would have grabbed the $65 pair without deliberation. Instead, you stand there and do a different kind of math. You wear shoes to work 4 days a week. Over 2 years, that is roughly 400 wears. The cost per wear difference between the 2 pairs is less than 30 cents. You buy the $175 pair. You carry them to your car and sit in the parking lot and realize quietly that something about how you think has changed without you noticing it changing. You are no longer making decisions in a 30-day frame. You are thinking in years, not as a discipline you are imposing on yourself, as a reflex that has grown in. That shift, invisible, unglamorous, completely unphotographable, is worth more than almost any financial tactic you will ever read about. At 36, Your company eliminates 14 positions in a restructuring that the leadership team describes as a strategic realignment, and that everyone on the floor recognizes immediately as something significantly less optimistic than that. The email goes out on a Thursday, and by 2 in the afternoon, the building is quiet in a specific way. People are in private conversations. People are updating things they had not updated in years. You go home and run the numbers. Your savings covers 4 months at your current spending level. Your portfolio represents another layer beneath that. You are not safe. You are never entirely safe. But you are not one paycheck from collapse the way you were at 31. 2 weeks later, the cuts are announced. Your name is not on the list. 3 of your colleagues are carrying boxes to their cars on a Friday morning, and you stand at a window and watch and feel something complicated. Relief that is immediately followed by guilt about the relief. Underneath both of those, a cold and clarifying understanding. The only real answer to this kind of vulnerability is time measured in months that a savings account can buy you. You increase your emergency fund target. You do not touch the investments to do it. Sometime during your 36th year, a close friend buys a car. A new one. Financed. The kind of car that costs more per month than your entire automated investment contribution. He does not share the specific terms because nobody does. But you have been doing math long enough to construct a reasonable estimate, and the number you land on makes you quiet in a way he probably reads as indifference. You ride in the passenger seat one evening and you feel the pull of it. The interior. The ride quality. The way everything works the first time you touch it. And there is a voice, small but not easily dismissed, that says you have been disciplined for 3 years, and discipline like that is supposed to earn you something. You notice the voice, you do not argue with it or shame yourself for having it, you notice it the way you would notice clouds moving in, and then you let it pass. Because desire is not the problem. Desire on a payment plan is the problem. The question is never whether you want something, the question is what it costs in time and in options, and in the future, you are in the process of building. You get out of his car, you get into your 2019 sedan with 74,000 miles on it, and a dent in the rear bumper that you got in a parking garage in 2022 and never fixed, because the deductible was more than the cosmetic damage, and that math was obvious. You feel something it takes a moment to identify. Not deprivation, not jealousy, clarity, the particular steadiness of knowing exactly what you are doing and why. Your portfolio crosses $60,000 on a Wednesday morning in October. You are between meetings. You check the app the way you have been checking it for years, not obsessively, but with the same habitual attention you give a plant you have been tending, just long enough to register whether it has changed. The number reads $61,400. You go back to the meeting, you take notes, you eat lunch at your desk, but the number sits with you for the rest of the day like a low, steady warmth. This is the first number that feels structural, not a milestone to be proud of. A foundation that has been poured and has set and will now hold weight. Everything you build from this point forward sits on top of this, and this is why you started at 33 instead of 43. Because foundations take time to cure, and you gave it the time. At 38, your father calls on a Sunday evening. He sounds careful. The kind of careful that means he has been thinking about how to say something for several days. The water heater in his house failed 3 weeks ago, and he has been managing without it, and he did not want to ask, but the replacement and the installation together are $2,800, and he does not have it liquid. You tell him not to worry about it. You tell him you will send it this week. You hang up and sit with the phone in your hand for a while, not thinking about the $2,800. That part is straightforward. You transfer it 2 days later without touching your investments, without taking on debt, without losing a night of sleep over it. What you sit with is the feeling of what you said, not to worry about it. Said without the background calculation of what you will have to sacrifice, what card you will put it on, how many months it will take to absorb. 5 years ago, helping him would have meant debt. It would have meant saying yes while feeling the weight of it sitting somewhere in your chest for months afterward. This time, you just help. That not the portfolio balance, not the automated contributions, not the spreadsheet, is the first moment you understand what building wealth is actually for. It is not a number. It is the ability to show up for the people you love without it costing you your stability. It is capacity. It is the option to say yes when it matters. You sleep easily that night. At 39, your portfolio generates more than $8,000 in growth in a single year from the invested capital alone. Not from your contributions. From the money doing what money does when you leave it alone long enough. You are making money on Sundays. You are making money on the days you forget to check the account. The machine runs whether you are watching it or not. You built it contribution by contribution across 6 years. Through a laptop that died, through a market drop that lasted most of a year, through a restructuring that took people you liked, through a phone call on a Sunday evening that once would have been a crisis. And now it runs. There is something that happens around this time that nobody posts about. The people closest to you, people you love, people you have known for 15 years, are largely not doing this. Some are in genuine financial difficulty that is painful to witness. Some earn more than you and spend all of it in ways that seem sustainable until suddenly they will not be. Some have quietly constructed a retirement plan built primarily on optimism. You have mentioned it once, gently, and it went nowhere. You have learned that people do not change their relationship with money because someone brings it up over dinner. They change it at a kitchen table late at night when the number finally gets too uncomfortable to look away from. You cannot manufacture that moment for someone else. So you carry this quietly. You split the bill evenly at dinner even when you ordered less. You do not perform your discipline. You do not need them to understand it, but you feel the gap between where you are and where they are the way you feel a draft you cannot quite locate. This is the part of building wealth that looks like nothing from the outside. No milestone, no announcement. Just a person at a table with people they love, carrying something private, choosing to keep carrying it. You wake up on your 40th birthday, and before you reach for your phone or get out of bed, you lie there in the dark for a moment and think about the grocery store parking lot. The engine off. The list you did not go in to buy. The spreadsheet you finally did not close. Then you check the number. $218,000. Not financially free in the way the internet defines it. Not a millionaire. But 40 years old with $218,000 in real invested wealth built from a deficit, built from $1,017 in a savings account on a morning in May that felt like evidence. Built contribution by contribution through everything that tried to interrupt it. The median person at 40 has a net worth of roughly $35,000. You have more than 6 times that. Not because you inherited it, not because you earned an extraordinary income, because you started, because you automated the behavior before the motivation was consistent, because you stayed in the market when your instincts were arguing otherwise, because you transferred $2,800 to your father without hesitation and slept easily afterward, because somewhere along the way you stopped thinking about wealth as a number and started experiencing it as something quieter and more durable than that. 8 years ago, you thought wealth would feel like a specific balance in a specific account. It did not feel like that at all. It felt like sitting in a repair shop parking lot in February, paying for a laptop with money you saved without panic. It felt like watching colleagues carry boxes to their cars and feeling complicated emotions instead of terror. It felt like telling your father not to worry about it, and meaning it completely. Most of all, it felt like waking up one morning and understanding, without needing to think it through, that the future was no longer something happening to you. It was something you had been quietly building for years, one automated transfer at a time, in the dark, without anyone watching, without anyone applauding, because you finally decided that the life on the other side of the discipline was worth more than the comfort of avoiding it. Drop a comment below. What age did you start? Or what is stopping you from starting today?